It's great to be here. I'm so thankful for the chance to share with you a little bit about my life and some of the things I've been privileged to be a part of. You know, when I look around this crowd, I know one of you is a well-known and well-accomplished guitarist. I know another one of you is a world-renowned ballet dancer. I bet one or more of you in this crowd are so smart that you're going to get a perfect score on the SAT if you haven't already. I wish that would have been me. And I bet because this is an athletic school, there's more than 50 of you in here that will participate in the Junior Olympics this summer. You know, this is an amazing school because you are amazing students. You're awesome students, in fact. And you excel in the academics, athletics, the arts, music, the extracurricular. And these are all things that you know you can do, and because you know you can do them, you confidently and passionately pursue them. But I want to make this point, that we can do anything. Though you excel at those things, and those are things that society expects from you to do at this age, and perhaps your parents demand that you do at this age. But I want to make the point that you can do anything. And look, as someone who's 5 years out of high school, I understand the expectations in your lives. I understand how busy you are, and I also understand the labels in any high school. Some of you may be labeled as the football star. Anyone? Yeah? Some of you may be known as the cheerleader. Again? I see. Some of you may be known as the computer genius. Yeah? Okay. But just like society doesn't dictate what we can and cannot do, I want to make the point that what we're known as at school, what our friends think of us, what they think we can do, what they think we're good at, what they label us as, we can truly do anything. Who said that? When I was 16 years old, I came back from a trip from Belize, and I had a desire to bring clean drinking water to people around the world who didn't have access to it. And 8 months later, I found myself in this photo. And as you look at this photo, you can see the clean water coming out of that spigot. You know, I accomplished that dream, that goal I had to bring clean water to people who didn't have it. You know, this photo was taken in a small village of about 3,000 people called Bondini in the middle of rural Kenya. You know, getting there wasn't easy because traveling in rural Kenya isn't an easy task. There's potholes all over the road, and there's maize fields that are higher than the car on both sides of us, so it's almost like we're driving through a tunnel, and we're driving for hours. It feels like we're on Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. We're bouncing all over the place. I'm starting to get a little car sick. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I don't know what to expect. And I'm thinking, can we just get there already? And then we come around this turn, and I see a little muddy stream, and we pass through it. And once we pass through that, the people I'm traveling with turn and look at me and say, "We're here, we're in Bondini." And so I got out and I looked around and tried to take my surroundings in, and I see that stream, and for a minute I realized that stream was the sole source of drinking water for the people in Bondini. And as I get a closer look, I see cows in there drinking and waiting, next to kids playing in the river, next to women washing their clothes and their utensils. And finally, I see this man bending over, scooping water into his mouth because he was thirsty. And so what followed was an unprecedented celebration for really an unprecedented day in Bondini's history. If you think about it, they've never had clean water before, and here they are. They have a water filtration system. They're getting clean water, and so we celebrated like crazy. And as many people in Africa like to do, we sang, we danced, and finally, after the 50th time of me being asked to join them, I consented and made a fool out of myself. I may be awesome at certain things, but I'm not an awesome dancer. But anyway, so we're there, we're celebrating, and we have this big feast. And there's 3,000 people in Bondini, and we're having this crazy feast and all this high energy. It's an amazing moment. And then the community leaders began to address the people of Bondini. And it took forever because they're speaking Swahili, and there's a translator there who's translating what they're saying into English because me and the people I'm traveling with were really the only ones there speaking English, but it was nice for us to be able to understand what's going on. And so, it's been a long day, and we have that long car ride back, and the sun's starting to go down, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this has been an incredible day, life-changing in so many respects, and not that I want to leave, but I almost can't wait to get some space to think about this day, process it, all that it meant to me, what I learned. And right as I'm thinking that, the mayor of Bondini, so to speak, is addressing the people, and he kind of goes quiet. And he looks at me. And he comes over and he grabs me by the arm. And he pulls me up in front of everyone, and he hands me the microphone. And he gives me a little bow, as if to say, we want to hear what you have to say. And in that moment, I realized that the people of Bondini, they weren't looking at me as a 16-year-old kid. They weren't looking at me as a high school student. They were looking at me as a young leader who helped bring them clean water. You see, I was doing something I'd never done in a place I'd never been, with people I'd never met. Believe me, I was thrown out of my comfort zone in a way I never had been. And that moment changed me in a way I had never been changed before. Back in high school, I was known as a reasonably good volleyball player, and, I'd hit anywhere from 500 to 1,000 volleyballs a week trying to, okay? Some volleyball players out there too. But I'd hit 500 to 1,000 volleyballs a week trying to perfect my craft, thinking that maybe one day I'd be able to go and play in college, hopefully. It didn't end up working out that way, but still, back then I was into it. And, many of you, whatever your craft is, you do the same thing. You're perfecting that craft, and it's great, it's awesome, it's important. Work hard at the things we're good at. But the thing that changed me the most in high school was not hitting a volleyball for the 50th, the 100th, the 250th, or the 1,000th time. It was doing something I'd never done before. And I just want to ask the question, and think about it just for a moment, but when is the last time that you did something you've never done before? That moment when I was handed the microphone in Bondini, and I'd helped bring them clean water, I learned a valuable lesson. I learned in that moment that I could do anything. And so the catalyst for this rather unexpected journey to Bondini was a trip to Belize, where some friends and I had the opportunity to do a homestay with an indigenous Mayan family. And it was such a neat experience on so many different levels. They spoke 5 languages, 3 of which were indigenous dialects. We spoke English and enough Spanish to pass the Spanish 1 midterm, if you know what I mean. But anyway, just so incredible, and really our first glimpse of poverty on a grand scale. We're living with this family, and they're in this small little cramped hut with this thatched roof and muddy floors, because when it rained, and it often rains in the jungles of Belize, some of the water would get through the thatched roof, and would get onto the ground, and it would make it muddy. And that's where they lived. And one of the things we realized about this family as we're connecting with them is that the women and children of this particular family were absent throughout parts of the day. And so we asked them, what are you doing? What's going on? We wanted to understand more about their lives. And they said, well, we're going to get water. We said, great, well, the next time you go get water, come and get us. We want to join you. We want to be a part of that. And so they did, and in typical California fashion, we're all Californians that were there. We put on our flip-flops, and we were ready to go set out with them, and we're expecting to go just to the other side of the village, to one of those hand pumps, to a spring, to a well, what we would think of when somebody says they're going to get water. And instead, we walked about 1.5 miles to a river that looks exactly like that river I showed you in Bondini, where the water looks more like coffee than it does water. And it's so dirty and so contaminated that if we're really honest with each other, we wouldn't wash our hands or our feet in that water, let alone contemplate drinking it. And this family just takes it in stride. They get in the river, and they're filling up their buckets with water. They're washing their clothes, they're washing their arms, their legs. And we kind of had the wind knocked out of us because, to be honest, we were expecting a 100-yard walk. We walk 1.5 miles, and as the longer we walk, the more we're imagining this glacier on a mountain with this incredible water coming down. We're walking 1.5 miles. It's far. And then we saw this, and we couldn't believe it. We had no words. And finally, after a couple minutes, we got our wind back, and we asked them and said, "Do you drink this water?" And the mom of the family looked at us, kind of gave us a confused look and said, "Well, yeah." We said, "Well, is there another place that you can go to get water?" She looked at us and she said, "Well, there's a market, 10 miles that way. It's a long walk, and the water there is expensive, so you got to buy bottles." We said, "Well, does this water make you sick?" She said, "Yeah, it makes us sick." "Well, what do you do when you get sick?" "Well, we go buy medicine, usually once a month." "How much does the medicine cost?" And she told us, and we did the mental math in our heads, and we realized they were spending half of their monthly household income on medicine because the water they were drinking was making them sick. And for us, it was so obvious. You get them clean water, and their lives radically transformed. This is a poor family. They're eating 2 meals a day. You give them clean water, they have 3 meals a day. They can have meat maybe once a week, not once every 3 weeks. You get them clean water, they can send all 7 of their kids to school, not just 4, which is what they were doing currently. And so we came back from this trip, and we had this desire, this passion, this dream to bring clean water to people who didn't have it. We got in contact with an organization that installs water filtration systems in developing countries. And as we're on the phone with one of the project directors there, we're sharing our heart. We're saying, we had this experience. We want to do something, anything. And he says, "Well, how about you raise funds for a village that needs a water filtration system?" And he says, "Actually, a project just came across my desk this morning. Let me look at it." And he's rummaging through his papers. He finally says, "Oh, yeah, that's right. It's a village called Bondini in Kenya." And so we went, we raised the money to bring clean water to Kenya, to Bondini, and we went, we were changed, we came back, we said, "Oh my goodness, that was incredible, life-changing experience. We got to do more. We want to do another village." As we're sharing with our friends, they all said, "This is great. We want to do this too." And that actually caught us by surprise a little bit because many of our friends were involved in philanthropy, helping raise funds and awareness for many great causes. And we asked, "Well, you already got so much going on. Why do you want to do this with us?" And they said, "Because you guys got to go." In other words, we raise money for causes and it's great and we trust it's going to good places, but we don't get to see tangibly how that is impacting people's lives. And yet you guys raised money for Bondini, and you were able to go see those people take their first drink of clean water. And we want that. We want to do that. And that's when we had this crazy idea to create this organization called Hands for Others, or H4O, a platform to inspire and equip young people to raise funds and awareness to solve the world's water crisis, one of the world's greatest needs, and then to facilitate those trips where they can go see firsthand as a water filtration system is installed and the people are taking their first drink of clean water. That's the idea for H4O, and as we started it, we were met by a good deal of skepticism. Many adults looked at us and said, "This is a great idea, but really, you think this is going to work? You think high school students are going to do this?" And we said, "Well, I don't know, we're going to try." And to be honest, I think that those people underestimated what young people can and want to do, because to date, we've helped bring clean water to over 200,000 people in 15 countries around the world. Thank you. We've taken hundreds of young people on our vision trips, and the craziest thing about H4O is it just feels like it's just getting started. Who knows what it's going to look like 5 years from now? So now I'd like to share a couple of lessons that I've learned through my experience with H4O and working with so many young people within H4O. The first lesson is that we truly can do anything. And I already mentioned that, but I want to drive that point home. We can do anything. And it doesn't matter whether you can jump really high or you can barely jump off the ground at all, whether you're at the top of your class or towards the bottom. We all can do anything. You just got to be willing to take a risk, to do something out of your comfort zone, to do something you've never done before. And one of the crazy things about taking risks, doing something we've never done before, is that in those moments, we're impacted the most when we take a risk, but we're also able to impact others the most. And I want to say that again, because I think it's really important. That when we do something out of our comfort zone, something we've never done before, when we take a risk, it's the moment that not only are we impacted the most, but we're able to impact others the most. And I think that's really powerful. And here's the key. And I'm going to say a word that perhaps some of you don't want to hear, and it's follow through. You have to be willing to do the work. And look, for us, Belize was our inspiration. It gave us a dream. It gave us a vision. It gave us a passion to see people who never had clean water before in their lives get it. But the really life-changing moment was not Belize for us. It was Bondini. Because we saw that we came back from Belize, we had this dream, and we saw that dream come to fruition in Bondini. We saw people drinking their first taste of clean water. And that was the life-changing moment for us, not Belize. And the inspiration is important, but the follow-through and making it happen is more important. And I just want to throw it out there, what's your Bondini? What's your idea? What's your passion? What's your dream? What are you thinking about right now when I ask that question? And that's great. That vision, whatever that passion, whatever that dream is, follow it. But actually do it. Follow through with it. Because believe me, there's nothing more rewarding than following through with a dream and making it happen. And we all can do it. We really can. And look, as millennials, we're known for a lot of things. We're known for high energy, for good ideas, creativity. We're also known for philanthropy. We're not really known for our follow-through. And I just think that if we can get follow-through now at a young age and combine that with our creativity, with our energy, there truly is nothing that we can't do. What we can accomplish as a generation truly is limitless. Last summer, I had the opportunity to take 15 high school students to Mexico. When I say Mexico, I mean southern Mexico, so not a border town, but way down in the jungles by Guatemala. And by now, I've been on a lot of these trips, and they're all impactful, and they're all special in their own ways. But I've had my first experience. I had that bondini moment, so to speak. And what was so cool about this trip is I was able to see these 15 high school students who raised money to bring clean water to a village in Mexico, to see them go and be there and be a part of that installation, to see those people in Mexico have their first drinks of clean water, and to see those high school students have their bondini moment, to be able to look through their eyes and see how that changed them, to be able to come back, and it's been 8 months now since the trip, to be in touch with all of them and to see how that moment has changed their lives in radical ways. You see, they were doing something that they'd never done before, in a place they'd never been before, with people they'd never met before. Believe me when I say they were out of their comfort zone in a way they never had been before. But they too were changed in a way they never had been before. Thank you.